Yo, what is up guys? Welcome to the day 37 recap of the 2016-2017 NBA season. Alright, so take every team that you thought was going to win last night and put an L next to their name. The biggest L of the night goes to the Los Angeles Clippers. They lost for the 4th time in a row last night to the Brooklyn Nets. The Clippers were up most of the game. You know, they had a pretty comfortable lead even in the 4th quarter. You know, they were up like 16-20 in the 4th quarter with like 5 minutes left to go. They had a pretty comfortable lead. Everything was going fine. You know, they rested Blake Griffin, which I'll get to that in a minute. They rested Blake Griffin. But for any of you Clippers fans trying to use that as an excuse, just don't. Look, this team played without Blake Griffin for an extended period of time last year, and they still looked pretty good. Don't try and use resting Blake Griffin as an excuse for losing. Even if your team didn't have Blake Griffin at all, you're still a better team than the freaking Brooklyn Nets. You shouldn't be losing to the Brooklyn Nets, but then again, how can I talk? My Pistons lost to the Brooklyn Nets, but that's a different story. In the 4th quarter, Sean Kilpatrick remembered that he wants to be like Mike, you know, he wants to be Kobe Bryant. He wasn't passing the ball. He finished with 38 points and 14 rebounds. Yes, he did shoot the ball 34 times, but that's besides the point again. In the 4th quarter, he took over the game. He did. He was shooting a lot, but he took over the game, and he is the reason the Brooklyn Nets, well, him playing amazing and the Clippers falling apart is the reason that the Brooklyn Nets won the game. Doc Rivers got himself ejected with overtime, which could have cost his team the game there. I mean, they were going to shoot 4 free throws in that span because he got 2 quick technicals while the Brooklyn Nets were already up 2, and then there was a foul. But luckily for, actually not luckily for the Clippers, because they still lost the game anyways, but the Brooklyn Nets only made 1 of those free throws, and the reason Doc Rivers got ejected, it wasn't because of any ref calls. It realized because he was being stupid. He set out Blake Griffin. Before the game, he was like, yo, it's the freaking Brooklyn Nets. Blake, you can have the game off. Chris, you can have the next game off, and we just about to go get these W's real quick. It ain't work like that. Matter of fact, you got hit with some karma. You got hit with the rest of the players' karma because you went into double overtime. And do you know what happened in that double overtime? Do you know what happened? You have to play Chris Paul and DeAndre Jordan 45 minutes each. 45 minutes each on 2 of your best players. That is a lot of minutes, especially for Chris Paul, who was getting a bit up there in age. And you also had to have Jamal Crawford come off the bench and play 35 minutes, which is a lot of freaking minutes for Jamal Crawford. Everyone's so shocked that the Clippers blew another lead, they blew another game, they choked again, that no one even realized that DeAndre Jordan had a 2020 game. DeAndre Jordan did have a really good game, he did. But the Clippers still got an L. I said it after they lost to the Pacers that I have no idea what is going on with this team. I honestly have zero clue what is going on with this team. They were looking so good up until 4 games ago. And then just poof. You gave up 127 points to the Brooklyn Nets. You had one of the best defenses in the NBA up until the last few games. It just leaves you scratching your head like, what is going on with this Clippers team? If they lose their next game, actually I was just seeing what their next game was. It's Thursday against the Cleveland Cavaliers, so I won't say if they lose the next game I'm gonna rip them, but give them some slack there. You got saved, LA. You really did get saved. It doesn't end there, yo. The Cavs lost their 3rd game of the season to the freaking Milwaukee Bucks. And the Bucks aren't a bad team. To be fair, the Bucks are not a bad team. They're playing 500 basketball right now, much better than they were last year already. And they're still missing their 3rd best player, Chris Middleton. And they got the win. Giannis Antetokounmpo was a beast though, yo. He had 34 points, 12 rebounds on 13 of 19 shooting, yo. The man could not be stopped. He also had 5 steals and 5 assists and 2 blocks. Once again, absolutely stuffing the stat sheet like no one has ever stuffed the stat sheet before. The Bucks were playing some pretty good defense on the night, yo. They basically outdid the Cavs in every statistic. In rebounds, they had 43, the Cavs had 35. Assists, they had 27, the Cavs had 17. Steals, the Bucks had 15 steals, the Cavs had 7. And then they were tied with the blocks with 6 each. The Bucks just frankly outplayed the Cavs. There was no blaming anything here. The Cavs were just outplayed by the Bucks. That's how it is. Nick Young got hurt in the first couple of minutes of the game. I think he like hurt his Achilles tendon or something like that. So hopefully he gets back. And the Lakers haven't been able to stay healthy. They got Julius Randle back last night, but now they lost Nick Young and they're still without D'Angelo Russell. They didn't leave without an L. Yo, they got blown out by the New Orleans Pelicans, 105-88. Anthony Davis, another monster night. Anthony Davis, yo, another monster night, yo. 41 points, 16 rebounds, 4 steals, and 2 blocks. And the Pelicans won again, yo. They are 7-12. They are not the worst team in the NBA. They are definitely not the worst team in the NBA. Of course, with Anthony Davis, you are a liability to beat any team on any given night. Unfortunately for Anthony Davis, most of his heroic efforts efforts still wind up with an L, but tonight it's good to see one of them wind up with a W. Anthony Davis is just a monster. On the year so far, he's averaging 32 points, 11 rebounds, and just under 3 blocks per game. To no one's surprise, he has the highest efficiency rating right now of any other player in the league. It's just a matter of getting this man at least one other good player to play along with him. Not good player, because Jrue Holiday is a good player. One other, just a team. Just not even one other, just a team. He doesn't even need another superstar, just a bunch of good players around him. That's all. And this was a really bizarre game. I thought the Pistons were gonna lose. I'm not even gonna lie. I'm not even gonna front. I thought the Pistons were going to take an L in this game. Going into the game, I already thought it was gonna be a tough game because the Pistons have been struggling on the road so far. They are 1-8 on the road going into this game. And to start the game, they were playing really well. The Pistons were playing really well. They were up double figures, and then the Charlotte Hornets fought back in the second quarter and basically tied the game up. And then Andre Drummond goes and gets himself ejected for throwing an elbow to the back of Roy Hibbert's head. And it wasn't like one of those oops that might have been an accident type elbows. No, the man literally, Roy Hibbert was a solid couple of feet ahead of him. Andre Drummond goes like this just in the middle of a play, and the refs caught it. I know some Pistons fans are upset and saying that the NBA is soft for throwing Drummond out. But let's be honest here, if someone did that to Andre Drummond, you'd be calling for him to get thrown out too, so you can't be double-sided here. It's not really soft of the NBA to throw a player out for elbowing someone in the back of the head. You know, if Andre Drummond like kicks someone in the nuts or something, then yeah, that's perfectly fine. But elbows to the back of the head, that's a no-no. You know, he was thrown out, and then when he was thrown out, the game was like tied. And you know, at this point, I was like, well, GG. You know, we have no Reggie Jackson. We just lost Andre Drummond. The Charlotte Hornets are a good team. We are on the road, which we've only won once so far this year. You know, GG. It was GG for the Charlotte Hornets because after that, the Pistons took off. They wound up winning 112-89. No Andre Drummond basically the entire game. He played 13 minutes, but everyone else was out there hooping. Tavius Caldwell-Pope is freaking flames. I'm trying to tell you guys, he is flames. He had one bad game against the Thunder a couple nights ago, but before that, he had been on a tear. Now he's showing the ability as a playmaker out of nowhere. Against the Clippers, he had 10 assists. Last night, he had 7 assists to go along with his 7 rebounds and 18 points. Tobias Harris was unconscious, He had 24 points on 9 of 12 shooting. Marcus Morris shot himself into a rhythm like he typically does. He's the type of player that if he's having an off night, he'll try and shoot himself out of the off night. Sometimes he does, and sometimes he doesn't, which sometimes can get kind of frustrating if you're a Pistons fan, if you're watching Marcus Morris keep chucking up shots when they're not falling at all. But he came through last night. He had 18 points on 18 shots. Even Ish Smith was doing something. Ish Smith, just stop shooting threes though, buddy. The threes are not your thing. I'm just excited about this Pistons team, I'm really excited about this Pistons team. Reggie Jackson will be back in a week or less. We should be seeing the return of Reggie Jackson to the Pistons court. Says Hoagie Sets of Flames. Thought the upsets were done. You thought there weren't any more upsets. Check again. The freaking Orlando Magic went out and beat the San Antonio Spurs. They handed the Spurs their 4th L on the season in a very uneventful game. For the Magic, Serge Ibaka is playing himself into a nice contract. Still not sure why the Orlando Magic traded for him. He's gonna be a free agent this offseason, and right now he's really playing himself into a pretty nice contract. He's averaging just under 15 points and 7 rebounds, then he has like a block and a half a game. Every time I think about the Orlando Magic though, I'm just still not sure what exactly it is that they're doing. They started DJ Augustine over Alfred Payton last night, so that was one of their young players who now seems to be in the doghouse a bit. Vucevic, another one of their nice young players, also is coming off the bench. I just don't see what it is that the freaking Orlando Magic did. This is a very bad shooting night for the San Antonio Spurs though. They shot 28 of 76 field goals, that is 36%. And then from 3, they were 5 of 20 for 25%. Kawhi Leonard was the only one that was kind of getting buckets. He was 6 for 16 from the field, so not the most efficient, 21 points. Outside of that, LaMarcus Aldridge finished with 16 points. He was 7 for 12 from the field, so maybe you should have looked to get him more involved into the offense. Just went down to LaMarcus Aldridge. But yeah, it was just a bad game for the San Antonio Spurs. This is the only one where you could go into the game and say, I think the Utah Jazz are gonna win. And you would have been right. Because going into this game, both the teams were basically the same. You know, they're both really good teams out in the Western Conference. And like I said, the Utah Jazz won. James Harden, I think this is the first time on the year he didn't have a double-double. And it's not really his fault. I mean, his teammates just weren't hitting the shots. Gordon Hayward had a beast of a game, yo. 31 points, 7 assists, and 5 rebounds. That is amazing. He should be an all-star. For the love of something, make Gordon Hayward an all-star, somebody. Roddy Hood had 19 points, Rudy Gobert had 16 points, 14 rebounds, and 3 blocks, so a dominant game from Rudy Gobert. And George Hill had his first bad game of the season, y'all, but it's not like he needed to have a good one this game. He had 8 points on 2 of 6 shooting. But like I said, with George Hill in the lineup, the Utah Jazz are winning. They're now 8-3 when George Hill plays, and still 3-5 when he doesn't. But that about wraps it up for all the action of the Day 37 recap of the 2016-2017 NBA season. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and if you did, make sure to smack that like button and subscribe to the channel for more daily NBA videos just like this. You guys already know, I'll be right back here tomorrow recapping the action from tonight. So until then, keep getting the buckets, Team SDC, and I'm out of here. Peace!